Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Law Essentials welcomes you to the 29th edition of the webinar on blockchain, remote voting, and legal aspects. We have with us today the guest speaker, Advocate Sai Sushanth. He's a cyber law expert and techno legal consultant. He is also the CEO of Sushanth IT Law Associates. Thank you so much for joining here with us today. So, it has been a pleasure to be associated with you. You have done immensely well in receiving your award on the Best Cyber Lawyer Award on India Legal Awards 2020. Congratulations to you on this, sir.
Thank you so much.
I would request you to start off with the session, sir.
Sure, definitely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening to all the participants of this webinar. Once again, we are on with a new topic, which is completely required specifically during this period of COVID-19. So I believe blockchain, remote voting, and legal aspects will be very interesting because it's for the first time that some kinds of experiments have been made all over the globe, and we also started to see some countries try to adopt blockchain for the purpose of conducting their voting and elections. So I just wanted to highlight some of the legal concerns, and also to give you a small background, the Election Commission of India also started to explore on the idea of coming up with blockchain-based remote voting mechanism, specifically during this period of COVID-19. So I guess it's going to be a bunch of new interesting legal issues and challenges, and also different legal facets that I will be taking you through. And I really hope that this will throw some kind of light on the different kinds of legalities surrounding blockchain and remote voting. So with this, I would once again like to thank Law Essentials, and they've been always very supportive, and especially Farhan, must really appreciate his thought leadership in coming up with good different webinars all around. I've been seeing a lot of forums who are having constant webinars, but I can tell you that Law Essentials and the Center for Intellectual Property that has been started by Law Essentials is completely demonstrating a thought leadership in a different direction altogether. And I believe that the conferences, webinars, and discussions like this will put forth different kinds of discussions among various stakeholders, and it will become a piece of piecemeal, and also a catalyst for the purpose of development of legal jurisprudence surrounding these emerging technologies, and also these areas and trust areas like blockchain. So with this, I would just like to go ahead and then talk to you about more legal interesting challenges. So firstly, let me just fundamentally give you a small introduction on blockchain and how blockchain technology operates, so that we are very crystal clear on what are the kinds of basic premise of this technology, and we are also having some kind of basic understanding on how this technology operates as a good solution for remote voting during the time of COVID-19. Not just that, I believe that this can also help to help, in increasing the percentage of voting, because during the recent times, we also had, for the state of Telangana, also we had elections, the municipal elections, and then the percentage of voting was very, very minimum. We just had about 29 to 35% of voting. So I believe in times like these, I think blockchain as a technology will be one of the very good options that governments and the other stakeholders could consider for the purpose of making people to indulge in their right to vote, or whatever you say, whether it's right to vote, freedom to vote, or anything, whatever be it. So give you a broad introduction on blockchain. Talk to you about blockchain in a very simple sense. I can tell you that all the participants who are connected today, who are watching us on YouTube, as well as who are otherwise connected to us through other channels, I can tell you that Law Essentials has been a network which has connected all of us. And whatever presentation that I'm actually sharing with you, on my screen is visible to all of you. So I can tell you that this itself is a blockchain. So the block, I mean, all of us are connected through a network, which is Law Essentials, and obviously, each and every participant and viewer of this particular session becomes block because we are all connected. And just imagine that you are connected through what can I say, a security mechanism. I believe that some user IDs and passwords, meeting IDs were shared with you, or if not, at least a YouTube link. Let's take the YouTube link to be the security parameter. So that is the connection that you and I have, and all of us are connected through the trusted network, which is Law Essentials. So giving you a small example that whatever is visible here, whatever screen you're able to see here as part of this particular session, I think it's completely transparent to all the people who are viewing us and who are part of this particular webinar. So how is it made transparent? I think if you consider this as a blockchain, whatever data that is shared across the block, it becomes transparent to all the members who are part of the blockchain. So which means what? Which essentially means that it's 100% transparent. Now, second thing, now all of you who are able to view the screen, can you do any edit or modification or alteration to the content? You cannot. Even if you are watching it on YouTube or if you are watching it otherwise, you cannot do any alteration to the content that you are actually seeing. So therefore, one of the other features of blockchain is it's immutable. That means you cannot alter the contents made available on the blockchain. So if you want to change or do any modifications, then the only way that you can do is you can add another block, and then because all of these get stored in a chronological manner, as you're able to see on the screen, you're able to see the blocks getting connected with each other. So every block will have two parts. One is the hash value of the block, and the other one is the hash value of the earlier block. So that's how it ensures that everything is maintained in a chronological manner. So that's the reason why blockchain technology is now being increasingly used for a variety of different applications, one of which is also remote voting. So given this challenge that it's difficult to actually, rather it's impossible to alter the contents, I believe that given this nature of blockchain, a lot of people are actually preferring blockchain for the purpose of protecting the integrity and also veracity of any material that is shared across. So this is about the blockchain, and it removes totally the concept of a trusted authority or a third party authority. Now, just imagine that there is no third party here. It's only the network, and it's only the people on the block. So only there are only two people here. So this can be the model of blockchain in a simple sense. So all of us are connected, and let's think all of us are connected through user IDs and passwords or YouTube link that becomes your security point. Unless and until you have that, you will not be able to view this webinar, or you'll not be able to access this particular webinar. So likewise, every particular block that is there has a hash value, and the hash value, just like how the YouTube link gets automatically generated by the host, or the meeting link is generated automatically when you create a meeting. Likewise, the network comes up with its own hash value. So therefore, the first block will only have the initial hash value, and from the second block onwards, it will have the hash value of the first block, as well as it will have its own hash value. Hash is nothing but a unique identifier. So such that it's I can tell you in simple sense that your name or any of your IDs that you have to recognize you. So that becomes your identification factor. Likewise, every block can be identified with help of this hash value. So this is the small context I thought I should just give you before I talk to you about how blockchain can be leveraged for the purpose of remote voting. So this is something that I thought I should share with you. Can we go to the next slide, please? So fundamentally, the concept of blockchain reminds me of a distributed ledger. So it's therefore decentralized. Each and every block is, decentralized. It's transparent. There is timestamp. So therefore, the date of creation, date of addition, date of modif. Everything is clearly mentioned. It's persistent. It's also verified. How is it verified? Through hash function. So that's the only way how blockchain transactions get authenticated. So it is the hash value that authenticates the particular block which is there on the chain. So given this kind of nature and characteristics of blockchain, I think there are very, very different kinds of applications. Blockchain can be used for a variety of purposes. It can be used in colleges, universities. It can be used in a lawyer's office or a law firm. It can be used at banks and financial institutions. It can be used in companies. It can be used in the government. It can be used even in different areas, including voting. So I'll just talk to you about how it can be used for voting as we go forward. But just to give you the understanding why this particular technology is preferred, I thought I should set forth some background for you to get more clear on blockchain and the characteristics of blockchain. I hope this gives you some understanding on the basic fundamental areas of blockchain. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So in a democratic country, I believe that conducting fair elections becomes one of the major requisites as far as democracy is concerned, because we elect our leaders and representatives through this concept of voting. So during this period of voting, I think specifically during pandemic, there are lots of challenges that we are likely to face in case of physical voting. Number one, we have a long standing queues in all the polling booths. I'm sure if you had actually given casted your vote in any of the elections, you would be able to follow what I'm trying to tell you. One of the major issues is also COVID, because we don't have any kind of idea how and when this could be infected. Another thing that could be majorly looked at is health related issues. A lot of people are having their own distinctive health related issues, and it may not be viable for them to stand in long queues, go cast their vote, and specifically they may also be prone to COVID-19 because of their health related parameters. And one another major issue is a lot of people have moved out of their place and then they've gone to different places for the because of COVID-19, and that's also one of the major issues that's been there during this pandemic period. And also the cost of conducting elections is also pretty much expensive when you look at it from a physical election perspective. Well, we're not here to just substitute it, but what we're trying to do is propose a solution that can actually try to address and redress these issues, specifically during COVID-19, because we don't have any idea when this era of COVID-19 is likely to end. Well, we are on one hand trying to be very happy that vaccines are getting developed, and on the other hand, there's still no clarity on clue regarding the infections and the spike of infections, because I think a majority of the countries also have started to face second phase of COVID-19, and then a lot of different things have been happening across the globe. So given the global position and the position that we are currently in, I think blockchain would be one of the very good solutions with regard to remote voting, specifically during this period of COVID-19. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, and I believe in this pandemic, we're all living in a digital society. Well, we're all ordering our food outside through mobile applications digitally. We're ordering groceries. We're ordering our essentials online. We're also trying to book all our items, whether it's clothing or any other essentials that we require through digital applications, be it marketplaces like Amazon, Flipkart, things like that. And we also moved on to watch movies and our favorite shows through the OTT platforms. And we're doing lots of transactions, whether it's e-banking or whether doing any kinds of online transfers through our digital wallets like Paytm and things like that. And we're also now slowly trying to look at different areas of digital life. So I believe in this digital society, let's understand whether we can also digitally cast our vote. So that's going to be a very interesting question in this kind of an environment. So I think in this digital society, digital voting also would be the new fancy that we can look at. Can we go to the next slide, please? So we already had so many different kinds of online voting solutions that were come up by different countries. and including India, but nothing worked out. I think there were lots of issues that happened in the earlier voting systems, specifically online. There were issues relating to transparency. There were issues relating to security, because online cyber security is going to be playing a very key essential role when we talk of online voting, and the risk of getting manipulation of votes. That's also something that we have to primarily understand. And coercive and influenced voting is also something that was considered to be one of the challenges, because just imagine that you're online, somebody puts you at a gunpoint, and you will not be able to cast your vote in a normal manner. So that's again going to be either coerced or influenced voting. And we didn't have any kinds of mechanism to actually verify in case your vote has been casted or not. So considering these challenges, I believe blockchain can be a wonderful solution that can actually try to redress these issues to a large extent. And it is for this particular reason that blockchain is now being proposed. And even Election Commission of India has actually hosted one of the meetings recently, and then I was part of that, just trying to understand from different stakeholders the pros and cons, and also the challenges of having blockchain-based remote voting. So this is something that could be one of the major reasons why blockchain could be now leveraged for the purpose of actually remote voting. Let's go forward. Next slide, please. So I think, given the immutable nature of blockchain, is also one of the very good advantages that blockchain technology has. Difficult and impossible to manipulate, and transparency is of course going to be transparent, like how I discussed with you, that anything and everything that's conducted on a block can be transparent to all the stakeholders, and you can definitely validate the identity of the voter, because every vote counts in an election, and I believe that using blockchain for the purpose of validating the identity of the voters could be one of the very good solutions. So just think, for example, that you're enrolled in the blockchain-based voting system. You'll be asked to submit your electoral cards and your other details. And the moment you're on the blockchain to cast your vote, it will immediately authenticate and validate the identity. And I believe this identification can be done in a transparent way by using blockchain. And there's also going to be a voter blockchain that will be created, and ultimately there's going to be a smart contract that is going to be generated when you make use of this blockchain for the purpose of casting your vote. And blockchain gives you an option of verifying the identity, and also then looking at whether that particular voter has actually voted once or he has voted multiple times. So I believe that all these things can be verified, and they can be actually understood when you make use of blockchain. Not only that, once a smart contract is generated, then a ballot opens, and then the user will be able to cast his vote for the respective parties that he is actually wanting to cast. So these are the kinds of advantages that blockchain technology brings in with regard to smart remote voting. Can we go to the next slide, please? So when I talk of the legal aspects relating to blockchain and remote voting, I find that there are going to be plethora of legal issues that are going to arise. And first and foremost, we have a Supreme Court judgment which says that in case a new method of voting has to be used, the same cannot be used unless it is backed by a legislation. What does that mean? It means, in simple sense, that if in case you don't have a dedicated law, then you will not be able to use that particular technology uh, for the purpose of conducting voting. So we do not have any dedicated blockchain-based laws or legislations. Or for that matter, blockchain-based voting law is also not there. Uh, but to give you a broad horizon, I can tell you that the IT Act has now come up with uh, uh, some kind of legal recognition to blockchain transactions. Well, it's not directly, but when you look at the preamble of the IT Act, it's very clear in stating that IT Act is here to give legal recognition to any transactions that are carried out in the electronic format. And lo and behold, that considering this broad viewpoint, I think we can also consider that this is also giving legal recognition to blockchain. But per se, no dedicated legal framework, that's also going to be a big legal challenge. Not just that, any transactions that are taking place through blockchain, that is the voting or the any other kinds of voting transactions that are taking place through blockchain, become electronic record thanks to Section 21T of the IT Act and also Section 4 of the IT Act, which give legal recognition to electronic transactions and records. So, given that scenario, I believe that voting done through blockchain also gives is legally recognized under Section 4 and Section 21T of the IT Act. Well, this is a very broad perspective and broad interpretation that we are trying to make, but no dedicated legal framework on blockchain yet. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. Now, one of the other areas that we'll have to understand is that blockchain-based remote voting can be very helpful during the period of pandemic. But of course, we do have the electoral ecosystem, which mainly focuses on two issues: the voting methods and also the place of vote. So, what does it mean? It means that the voting methods can either be in-person voting or postal voting. So, when we look at the electoral system that's in place. In person voting, we all know we'll have to go physically to the polling station and then cast our vote. And postal voting or postal ballot, it's already given a definition that electors can vote through the postal ballot, which can also be considered as vote from home. So, given this kind of a scenario, I think it's very imperative that blockchain based remote voting may be considered as postal voting, but not largely. And Aadhaar based authentication is also something that's recommended because now that when we're looking at a lot of authentication measures, specifically for electronic transactions, we have Section 3A of the IT Act, which gives legal recognition to electronic signatures. So, what does it mean? If you want to authenticate an electronic record, you can do so by either affixing your digital signature or your electronic signature. So electronic signature can one of the classic examples of electronic signature can be Aadhaar based authentication measures. So that being so, I think we already have some direction in the IT Act by way of Section 3A, which gives you some kinds of legal recognition for Aadhaar based authentication, which can be used in blockchain as well. But what becomes very important is that a category has to be defined, and a category can be defined only by the election commissioner and election commission, basically, the category for this particular blockchain based remote voting. I think that's something that the electoral ecosystem also has to be looking at, coming up with some distinctive category for blockchain based remote voting. So this is also something that I thought of sharing with you. Can we go to the next slide, please? Well, there are going to be huge amounts of legal challenges that are likely to crop up in case blockchain is used for the purpose of remote voting. Now, the first thing that I would like to highlight here is data privacy issues. Now, you will tell me, hey, you just spoke about the transparency and the kinds of advantages that blockchain has. Do you really think that there are also going to be challenges? Well, my answer is going to be 100% yes. There are going to be lots of data privacy challenges. The reason here is that given the immutable nature of blockchain, we are okay saying that, okay, blockchain is reasonably secured. But ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to tell you that nothing is completely immune from any kinds of breaches. And not just that, the when you look at the screen, when Russia also tried to make an experiment on making use of blockchain for the purpose of voting, and lo and behold, a lot of voters' data of belonging to Russia was now being made available for sale on the dark web. Why? Because dark web is something that's totally unprecedented. Because when you're using the internet, I think the net we access is only superficial internet, and beneath that, there's going to be huge dragnet of dark web that's waiting, and that's used for a variety of legitimate and illegitimate purposes and by different actors, whether it's state actors or non-state actors, for a different variety of purposes. So that be the scenario. There are going to be a lot of confidential and data privacy issues. Now, privacy earlier was only a matter of privacy law, but thanks to the latest Supreme Court judgment, where right to privacy is now being made a fundamental right. Now, once it's a fundamental right, I think I believe that it's going to be a different ball game altogether because it's now going to also have a constitutional law element in it, apart from just being a privacy law matter. So, given this scenario, the data privacy issues are likely to arise. Now, second, it's the confidentiality that's likely to be affected in case of blockchain-based remote voting. The reason here is that it's given the transparency of blockchain. I believe that the privacy of right to vote and voting is also going to be at risk, and maybe the person may not be able to understand or decipher the other person's voting privacy. He may not be affecting the other voters privacy, but one of the major challenges is in case this gets hacked or there's any kinds of cyber security or data breach. God bless you. The reason here is that now all of these would be made available to the hacker or the criminal or the intruder who's actually launched this attack. So, more than you knowing for whom you voted, the attacker, the criminal, will also be able to decipher and understand what's the voting percentage, and he will be able to rather get a lot of understanding and idea. So, I believe that transparency also throws up these challenges into the bucket, and confidentiality is also something that will be primarily an issue with regard to blockchain and remote voting. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yes. Now, one of the major challenges that I found when I was just talking of blockchain and remote voting is jurisdiction. So, internet has made geography has history. So, given this paradigm that you're sitting at one place and you're voting in another place with the help of blockchain, now what happens in case that vote becomes manipulated or in case of any issues? There's going to be definitely be a territorial issue, and also the question of internet jurisdiction would definitely come on the table, given the fact that you're sitting in one place, your vote is casted in a different place altogether, thanks to the technology of blockchain. So this is also a major challenge that is likely to evolve as we go by, because the reason here is that jurisdiction, specifically with regard to internet, has different approaches in different dimensions. So that's okay. Whether if you're sitting within the country, it's fine. But just imagine you're outside India and during the election time, you would want to cast your vote. Just imagine the kind of jurisdictional issues that are likely to happen. It's going to be tremendous. Of course, we do have the extraterritorial jurisdiction provision under the IT Act, specifically under Section 75 and Section 1, subsection 2, which give you some kinds of extraterritorial jurisdiction. But this is, well, it's like a paper tiger. But in order to get enforced, I think there are going to be lots of practical challenges. And I believe that this is also going to be one of the major constraints that the stakeholders will have to keep in mind while actually trying to come up with a legal jurisprudence surrounding blockchain and remote voting. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, blockchain remote voting is also likely to open up different gateways for cyber criminals. So, we also started to see that in different parts of the world, which made use of blockchain, which seen California, MIT, Stanford, which tried to put forth the point that voting using blockchain can be capable of hacking and other attacks. And more specifically, there was also one kind of a view that the data which is there stored on the blockchain would be obviously stored in a cloud server, and that cloud, we do not have any idea about who has got access to that or who has gained control over that data which is there in the cloud, because obviously you do not have a perfect understanding on where it is stored. And not just that, in one of the cases we're also seeing there was a viewpoint that the elections and the election results in the US were manipulated and affected by Russia, thanks to the technology that has been made available. So in this kind of a scenario, I believe that cyber security is also going to be playing a very, very different and an important role with regard to remote voting and blockchain. And not just that, when we look at the different kinds of challenges, see, Moscow also has come up with some kinds of a pilot project by making use of what is a blockchain, and they found that it's also capable of voter impersonation. It's a very bad sign altogether, and it also lets the other people get some understanding on how each person has voted. So given this point, I think it's also going to be putting in huge amounts of legal policy, regulatory aspects relating to cybersecurity. Because as I'm talking to you this evening, we don't have a dedicated cybersecurity law, because it's very important that when we're making use of these technologies, specifically cybersecurity has to be the golden mantra that all technologies have to be incorporating. And not just that, but cyber security legal compliance, that means what kinds of roles and responsibilities from a legal perspective should we have in order to comply with cyber security law. That's going to become a very interesting question. And not just that, apart from doing that, I think there are also some other areas that would be required to be addressed. For example, technology related complications could also arise in this kind of a scenario. And once it becomes once the information of the voters is made available through this blockchain to outside the world, I think a number of things can take place. Not just that, of course, permission blockchains could be one of the options, but in West Virginia also, people have tried to do some kind of experiment with regard to how information was, I mean, how the officials refused to reveal information regarding regarding how its security was evaluated. So that's also something that people are trying to look at. So all these could be some hindrances and some legal challenges in the deep waters of blockchain. So cybersecurity is also going to play an important role. And not just that, when I was just talking to you about data privacy, now just think, for example, we now are likely to have data localization law and the personal data protection bill that's there in the pipeline. So in case you're having data localization laws, then what does it say? It very clearly indicates that the data has to be physically located in the territorial jurisdiction of one country. And in a situation like this, when we have blockchain and integrated with cloud, I think it's going to bring in huge amounts of data privacy issues also in terms of data localization. This is also one area that I would like to just focus on. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, and one of the major challenges that I found when I was actually trying to work on blockchain and remote voting was the smart contracts. Now, I will just give you a quick example on smart contracts. The smart contracts are something that are created and generated out of a blockchain, basically. So, blockchain based contracts can be simply called as smart contracts, and they don't give you a lot of options. You don't have the option to negotiate them, obviously, just like your e-contracts. But again, coming to the legal side of the smart contracts, of course, the IT Act under Section 4, because this again becomes an electronic record because it's generated out of a technology and a computer. And it's also given legal validity to a certain extent. I come with a condition here. What's the condition? Now, 10A of the IT Act gives legal recognition to electronic contracts. So any contracts, including smart contracts that are generated out of blockchain, can be legal under this particular provision because they're electronic contracts. But it comes with a condition, just like that. Christmas is coming up. I don't have offense. I mean, no offense to anybody, but even Santa comes with a clause. So considering that, even blockchain contracts come. I mean, legal recognition comes with a clause. What's the clause here? Section 35 of the IT Act. What's Section 35 going to say? It's going to say that, hey, in case you want to authenticate an electronic contract, you must ensure that the keys, that is the cryptographic keys, public key and private key, are issued by a certifying authority. So how does this concept of digital signature or cryptography work? We have encryption, we have decryption. So public key, private key. So there are two keys. Public key, as the word suggests, is known to the public, and private key is only known to me. Only once they get authenticated, any document gets validated. So this is the concept of something called PKI, which is public key infrastructure. It's also called PKC, public key cryptography, where two keys are used. And who issues these keys? We have certifying authorities. And certifying authorities are appointed by someone who's called the controller of certifying authorities. And controller and certifying authorities, all of them are appointed as per the IT Act. So, in case I want to procure a digital signature for myself, or I have to buy my digital signature, purchase my digital signature from a certifying authority. We have some certifying authorities like eMudra, we have certifying authorities like TCS and all of these who are recognized certifying authorities under the IT Act. So the question here is that when I make use of blockchain, it removes the concept of third party, as I was discussing with you. The network itself is going to be the party who is issuing the hash. So, in like I was discussing earlier, the transactions are authenticated in the blockchain with the help of hash. Just like you have your what can I say, physical signatures. So in blockchain it is hash. And who issues the hash? It is the network. So just imagine that Law Essentials is giving you the access to this particular webinar through the YouTube link. The YouTube link is given by Law Essentials. It is not given by someone else. And think, for example, that Law Essentials, if Law Essentials is a certifying authority, fantastic. If it is not, then the question comes becomes very complicated, because under the section that I was talking to you about 35, it's very clearly mentioned that in order to use the private key and public key or to authenticate your electronic contract, you must have those keys issued by the certifying authority. So that's going to be one of the biggest legal issue as far as enforceability is concerned. Though on one hand it gives legal recognition, but it comes with a condition here. Can we go to the next slide? So before I just go and give you the concluding view, I would also like to talk to you about a couple of other things. Now, number one is let's take, for example, the present Indian law and the present concept of blockchain voting. So when I look at blockchain voting, obviously there's going to be what do you say, personal and sensitive data that's going to be collected. Now, what's personal data? Any information or personal information, any information with which I can identify a particular individual. So obviously, when I'm casting my vote, I would actually be required to enter my name, my other demographic details, including my electoral details, my card number, and things like that in a blockchain, so that my identity is validated. So therefore, there's involvement of data, personal data again, sensitive data also to a certain extent, because passwords and authentication measures again become part of sensitive data. And given these two scenarios, if you're making Aadhaar based authentication measures, there's also involvement of biometric data. So given this, I think the blockchain technology, and in case blockchain as a service is provided, it also has to be compliant with the IT Act. That's the first part of the coin. Now let's go to the second part of the coin. Now, in case it is becoming an intermediary in this case. Again, second, given the present definition of intermediary, whoever collects, processes, deals with any of the electronic records and provides any service with respect to any electronic record becomes an intermediary. So any, in case blockchain is given to you as a service by the government or by the election commission, then it also would be required to exercise compliance and due diligence under the present IT Act, which is the intermediary guidelines. Number three, now, given this fact that we are now trying to go a bit more further into the data protection laws, we have the personal data protection bill that is in the pipeline. Now, political belief is also considered to be the sensitive personal data under personal data protection bill. So now this blockchain as a service would also be, I mean, the election commission would also have to look into the personal data protection bill in order to understand and protect the sensitive personal data, which is the political belief of every voter. That's also going to become a major challenge. And not just that, it's also going to put up different kinds of challenges altogether. One of the challenges that I can understand is that it is going to, in case that information goes out to outside the country, then it's likely to have detrimental impact on the sovereignty, security, and integrity of the nation. So that's also one more area that will be a big area. Apart from this, that a lot of states in India, including the state of Telangana, was trying to propose the use of facial recognition for the purpose of blockchain-based remote voting. So what happens in case you're doing that? Then facial recognition also brings in huge amounts of legal policy regulatory frameworks. How does it happen? Because to identify a particular voter, facial recognition would become essential. Facial recognition again becomes personal and sensitive data. Legal compliances and cyber security will play a pivotal role because it faces the new passport of the present times, can I say? And in case any of the people try to intrude into the database of this blockchain-based voters, obviously their Aadhaar numbers also would be breached, and as a result it will violate the basic processes mentioned under the Aadhaar Act. So that's also something that we'll have to understand. And big data analytics is also largely used by blockchain based remote voting because to identify and get the percentage of voting in each place, to identify the demographic details, this is also used. So obviously there's going to be a lot of data that is going to be pulled up, and in this scenario data protection becomes very essential and very important, and that can be brushed aside. And apart from that, I think one of the other areas that I'm looking at is that the privacy of the voter would also be one of the major challenges, as I was talking to you about. Specifically, because we have the concept of secret ballot, and blockchain based mechanism would enable the vote and the voting data to be made available to the different stakeholders on the blockchain. So therefore, that's also going to become a very big challenge, as I can see. And not just that, there are also going to be other challenges that I can see. For example, the vote rolls and non-tech savvy voters, because you obviously need to have some understanding on technology in order to cast your vote through blockchain. So the non-tech savvy voters are also going to be one of the challenges. Then fraudulent voting, because here also it's capable of getting manipulated, because the data can be manipulated. And we've seen how Russia and even California MIT has suggested that this kind of voting system is likely to be faced with cyber crimes and things like that. So given this scenarios, I think we do not have even a dedicated cyber security law in India. Of course, the National Cyber Security Policy 2013, I believe it's just a paper tiger, and the imminent cybersecurity strategy of 2020 is not likely to shed light or focus on blockchain-based voting mechanism. So, given these scenarios, I think there are lots of legal issues that are likely to crop up. Of course, Estonia also has come up with some kind of mechanism in this area, but obviously we can't compare India to the European Union, because India has a much different socio-economic situation than the other countries. So that's also something that I would just wanted to put forth. And apart from that, we are also seeing lots of issues that happened in China also, because China also, I believe, had indulged in some kinds of activities. There were rumors that the voters' data belonging to some countries were actually vested with China. So this is also something that we can look at primarily. So I think the organization should have remote voting as a layered system, which could be a good mix of processes that are easy to use. The technology should be robust and scalable, and I believe it should be easy and should have easy and maintainable user interface. This is also something that I would like to put forth here. And given all of this, uh, I can just tell you in a nutshell that just like how we have the physical issues in the normal present voting system that we have, likewise, even in the blockchain-based remote voting system, there are going to be hiccups. There are going to be lots of challenges and pitfalls. But no matter, I think new legal approaches have to be evolved. and specific blockchain-based legal framework becomes necessary at this minute, considering the legal nuances of blockchain-based remote voting. Should I mean these things also should be taken into consideration. But nevertheless, would also like to tell you one small thing before I conclude. Till that any transaction that's done electronically, that means even the voting that is done through blockchain-based remote system becomes a legal evidence. Thanks to the Indian Evidence Act, this is also a legal evidence and can be used as a legal digital evidence in a court of law for any kinds of voting related frauds or disputes. And one of the major other challenges that would likely to be arise here is that blockchain works on the concept of distributed ledger. So these distributed ledgers may not be substantially under the control of the election commission. So that's also going to be one of the big challenges that I can see. And it's time to amend the IT Act, make more legal enablement for technologies like blockchain and blockchain-based contracts. So these are, I think, it will be very interesting to see how the law's legislative approaches jurisprudence surrounding blockchain law, specifically in the light of remote voting, will evolve as time passes by. I think some discussions like these will set forth some direction and trying to come up with some understanding on how the legal framework surrounding this has to develop. And I would just like to tell you one thing and close. I think we are all in a stage of transition, and once we are going to face the post-COVID era, I think a new cyber world order is likely to evolve, and we are going to see different, distinctive legal challenges that are likely to crop up, and including the kind of litigation. There's going to be a floodgate of litigation that's likely to happen as we open the new era of post COVID 19. So, with this, I thought I will just give you some kind of understanding on how this can be done. Um, so once again, I'm open to any questions, but would just like to tell you that this is a very different kind of approach altogether, and I believe that there are no straightforward answers or magical principles. Basically, if you're able to cover your back and start moving around, I think there is nothing more other than this. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been lovely talking to all of you this evening. Once again, thank Law Essentials, the Center for Intellectual Properties Law, and also specifically Fahan for this wonderful opportunity. And I'm open to any questions that you have. I'll be more than happy to answer all of them.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful session, and the audience have really loved you throughout the course of the session. We have a few questions coming in from the audience. The first question: do you think the electoral voting system in India can be changed to an online system?
I think a pilot project can be done to understand the legal nuances, specifically considering all of these, but may not be 100% viable given the kind of different, economy that we have, socio-economical conditions that we have. But yes, an experiment can be made by some states at considering, the present COVID situation. But I believe in the near future, it's definitely going to be a wonderful option to turn to technologies. And not only that, instead of wasting time in counting and doing all of this, instant results can be given the moment the election is done. I think that could save in a lot of money, effort, and time when we talk of elections. So definitely, it could be, yeah. I mean, in the near future, I think the election commission is already trying to consider it. But maybe let's hope and see whether things go in a proper direction.
Thank you so much. So, the next question: what are your views on the interference of political parties which may try to add more votes on their side to result as the victorious party?
See, that's a very, very fantastic question because I mean it's a new world space that is taking place now, and we'll have to dive a bit more deeper in understanding that. See, blockchain, one of the major advantages that it has is that any kinds of manipulation, any kinds of given the transparency that it has, yes, these may not be really possible. However, if it's prone to hack, then I think these challenges can definitely arise. And in those cases, it can completely pull away the election results in a totally different direction altogether.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we have come to the end of the session. I would really like to thank you for all the support you have provided to Law Essentials and the International Center for Intellectual Property Laws. I would like to congratulate you for winning the Indian Legal Awards for the Best Cyber Lawyer Awards for your
Thank
firm,
you.
Sushant
Thank you
IT
so
Law
much. Thank you so much. And I'm
Associates.
looking at the watch, and it's time to say goodbye. So meet you in one of the next sessions. Stay safe with COVID-19. Protect yourself. Also stay protect your hygiene and stay cyber safe, cyber secured. And it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice day.